We'll show you the ruthless home invasion as a child is threatened with a machete and a baby is taken hostage. But what did they want from the businesswoman known as Nan Chen? And 4 months on the run, and now 2 escapees will spend 2 more years in jail because of it. Plus, Belize's murder rate was way down in 2020, but so was the rest of the region. Tonight we'll show you how we're still in the top 10. Also, counseling in a time of COVID. You'll hear from counselors why this is an especially tough time for kids. And just in, the Prime Minister names his diplomatic appointments. We've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, February 2nd, 2021. Good evening. With your news, I'm Indra Craig.
Citizens of Belize, tune into the United Democratic Party's virtual launch of its 2021 municipal elections slates, putting people first. Our teams are capable, qualified, and extremely energized to deliver victory all across the country on March 3rd. Our virtual launch airs on Wednesday, February 3rd at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 7, Channel 5, Love TV, Wave TV, and live on our UDP Belize Facebook page. Your United Democratic Party, renewed and committed, putting people first.
Start your year with a win with Bellikin and its new promotion, Papa Stopper. Yes, sir. Every time you pop one stopper off our Bellikin, make sure you check under the code. If you see one battleship, you win one free Bellikin. If you see one ball, you win $20. If you see one star, you win $100. And once you see one diamond, you win $1,000. Sure. Bellikin again, you know. Papa Stopper. When you pop a stopper off a Bellikin, check to see if you're winning. You can collect your free beer or $20 cash prize at the store nearest to you. If you win $100 or $1,000, redeem your prize at the nearest B&B sales center.
Promotion is valid until Saturday, March 27th for while supplies last.
Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
My name is Sarah Pinero. I was born in Belize City, and I moved around a lot until I settled here in Belmopan. I'm technically a second-generation insurance agent. My grandmother was in the industry for over 40 years. I saw the love she had for what she did and the love she had for her customers. It wasn't just about providing a service, but it was about creating friendship. I am your neighbor. I am your friend. I am your RFNG agent.
Find your nearest RF&G agent on our website at rfginsurancebelize.com, where it pays to get it right.
Money. What is it? It's a tool, traditionally made from a small piece of paper or metal and handed from person to person, traded for food, clothes, or anything else you desire. These days, we don't rely on physical money much. Money has become a stream of ones and zeros, endlessly cycling around the globe on a superhighway called the internet. But where did money come from? And where will it go next? Sometimes Sometimes the best way to see what comes next is to look at the past, and the idea of money was invented way before the beginning of written history. It all started with the barter system. If you were a farmer in these days, leftover crops would be traded for bread from the baker. In ancient China, instead of carrying around hundreds of items around with them, people began to carry small tokens that represented the items that they wanted to trade. Ultimately, these tokens were replaced with abstract circles that could represent any item. According to early writings, Roman soldiers were paid in salt. It is believed that this is where the word salary comes from. The first coin we recognize today were issued in Turkey, and they were made of electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. Moving from coins, paper money was introduced around 700 AD and was developed by the Chinese shortly after they invented woodblock printing. They called it flying cash, as it had a tendency to be carried away by the wind. When Marco Polo visited China in the 1200s, he brought the idea of paper money back to Europe with him. Paper money wouldn't see widespread adoption in the West until mid-1600s, when banks started issuing notes that promised to pay bearers on demand a sum of gold. Merchants found it much simpler just to trade the notes with each other, rather than lugging around large amounts of unwieldy metals. During the American Civil War, both sides issued huge amounts of government-backed paper currency to fund the war, as they weren't enough gold. Union currency became known as greenbacks. The green ink on the reverse side is a color we still associate with money. Fast forward to 1946, the world's first charge card, named simply Charge It, was introduced. It was limited compared to modern credit cards, but proved such a useful concept that it led to the creation of Bank AmeriCard, now known as Visa, and MasterCard. With the introduction of ATM and cash machines in the 1980s, money had finally entered the digital age, and now everyone need to carry around a debit card along with their PIN number, and they could access their money anywhere that had one of these machines. Then came the rapid growth of adoption of the World Wide Web. Electronic money services had emerged, giving customers an alternative to traditional cash. Coupled with innovative technologies such as chips and pins, people around the world now enjoy making contactless payment at their favorite stores. It's now more clear than ever that our reliance on physical cash is on a steep decline. Convenience and security is what will pave the way forward for how business and customers transact in years to come. The phenomenon is coming to the Belize market. Digital wallet, a powerful option to physical wallets. Digital wallet can be very handy, as they can get rid of carrying cash everywhere. Digital wallet proves to be safe, easy, and immediate way for customers to pay online and further minimize the hassle related to cash transaction or waiting in line for long periods of time. The digital wallet is developed to increase customer safety and convenience significantly. So what does the future hold? The future is now, and it's powered by eCash.
You have a neighbor throwing a party? Do you know of anyone holding a social event? Have you seen people not following protocols set in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19? If so, report them immediately. Use SMART or BTL and call 0800 parties. That's 0800 727 8432. Our COVID-19 hotlines are available 24/7. These violators are putting your health and everyone you love at risk. Call our COVID-19 hotlines and report all violators. This message was brought to you by the Belize Police Department.
A home invasion in the capital city has left Belmopan residents shocked and shaken. But this invasion did not occur at just any residence. It happened at the home of 32-year-old Nan Cheng, a well-known, well-connected Asian businesswoman. It was all captured on surveillance camera, and Cheng's home was broken into by 3 intruders who attempted to kidnap a toddler inside. Courtney Menzies has the story.
Police presence was observed outside a house in the Orchid Garden Extension area of Belmopan last night at around 7:30. The home on Lee Richardson Street is the residence of Asian businesswoman and tax collector 32-year-old Nan Chen. In the shocking surveillance video, 3 men are seen scaling her fence and sneaking around her porch. And then the video captures them creeping stealthily, like trained operatives making their way into her house like smooth criminals. One of the residents seems to hear a disturbance and goes to check, which is when 3 intruders appear in the frame. One of them grabs and restrains him. Another man goes for a child lying on the couch, as the third man slips into another room. The burglar next to the child takes a machete and holds it menacingly above the young boy. And as he approaches the toddler, the infant reflexively holds up his hands, an infantile attempt at self-defense. But, undeterred, the masked man scoops up the baby and then commands the child to lie on the ground, the bewildered and terrified toddler still in hand. He gives the baby to the boy and then stoops down to speak to them. He is seen lifting the machete and pointing his finger at the children. A few feet away, the burglar holding the man then drags him away. Cue to the next video, where the burglars are seen running through the yard and jumping back over the fence. Incredibly, one of them is holding the baby and drops him onto the ground just before scaling the fence. The baby then gets up, seemingly unharmed, and toddles back to the house. And the masked men disappear into the night. Cheng witnessed the events but slipped out of her house and dashed to the police station. She reported to police that she saw her father, Mark Falling, and her 8-year-old son being threatened by the intruders. When police arrived on scene, they found Falling and the child locked up inside a room. Falling had been stabbed in his right hand and also bore another wound to the head. The home was also ransacked, but police have yet to ascertain what, if anything, was stolen. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
The Commissioner of Police was on the scene last night after the dramatic and terrifying home invasion. And he was probably there in part because it happened in the same general area of the U.S. Embassy housing compound. While police investigations have merely just begun, Paul Williams gave the media some preliminary details.
The lady that you speak about does not work for the council. We have many agents, many collection agents. That has been a system that I met here, right? Many collection agents, and in this instance, this lady that you speak about, by her, she has this. She's Asian.
There is not much details at this time. Yes, we got the information yesterday evening around 7 p.m. thereabout of a home invasion in the American Embassy residence area. Based on that, police had responded, including myself. I was on the scene, and at the home of one Nan Cheng. We were made to understand, from the initial information we gathered was that the accused persons or the home invaders had hostage the residents of that premises. And so we surrounded the house with the hope that the suspects were still inside. And after a couple of hours outside, we decided to force our way in. And when we got in, we only found the residents of the residence, and the suspects were no longer there. From what we gathered from those residents was that the suspect had left prior to the police arrival, which was not consistent with our information we had received initially. Nonetheless, we remained on spot until after 12 midnight last night. Then we did some searches in the neighboring communities with a view to see if we would be able to find those who are responsible. But that was fruitless. We continue to do our investigation. I believe that Ms. Cheng went in this morning to lodge her official complaint to the police. We have viewed several surveillance footages, and we're trying to see what we can gather from those with a view to lead us to those who are responsible.
3 persons entered the premise?
Yes, 3 persons entered with machete, from what I am told. I know that among the items stolen is a firearm belonging to Ms. Chen, and perhaps a few pieces of jewelry, but nothing much was stolen. Well, I do not want to speculate at this time as to a possible motive, but we know that a few items were stolen. They gained access through the back door.
Forced themselves in, or it was
Yes.
open already?
Yes, they forced themselves in.
So we saw in a leaked surveillance footage where a child, a toddler, was held hostage in this situation, in that what appeared to be a weapon was held to the neck of the child. That must have been a traumatic experience, and it shows that these men were serious. These men were out to commit harm and damage if what they went for was not handed over to them. Is that of concern to you, the nature of these type of criminals out right now?
Well, I cannot speak to the intention of the robbers. It is something that you may deduce from what you saw on the video. And at this time, like I said, we are still trying to identify who these persons were and what was their motive.
And while the police investigate any possible motives, speculations from other residents say it may have to do with their involvement in this businesswoman's vast and varied network of contacts. Now, the victim in this case, Nan Cheng, also known as Lunan, has been in the news before. 10 days ago, we told you how she went from being a gift giver to a revenue collector at the Belize City Council. In 2018, Mayor Bernard Wagner had allegedly berated her after she attempted to leave an envelope with the $50 bill on the city administrator's desk. But last year, she was made into a revenue collector with a council ID. The mayor denied her employment at the council, saying that she only assisted them with Chinese business persons for a mere 2 weeks. Here's the interview where the mayor seemed at a distinct loss for words.
The lady that you speak about does not work for the council. We have many agents, many collection agents. That has been a system that I met here, right? Many collection agents, and in this instance, this lady that you speak about, by her. She has this, she's Asian, and so obviously she has some measure of connection and be able to speak the language, and she engaged us, and we essentially said, all right, these are about 3 or 4 Asian people that you could do the collection for us, and having the language barrier. Remember that many of these individuals were facing the effects of COVID-19 as well, and so many of them wanted to speak to us. That listen, we struggle to a hotel has been shut down since March 2020, and we need relief as well. But the language barrier has always been that has been very challenging for us, and so that for that very short span of time, she negotiated for 3 persons for us.
How did she get back into the conversation with the council that you'd be able to recruit her after she so blatantly tried to induce the council?
Well, the council have always had many suppliers, right? We met many suppliers working that we do business with, many suppliers. And the fact of the matter is that she's in the business of supplying goods and services to the business community and to the Belize as a whole. And as a fledgling council, you always trying to seek some measure of in terms of you want favorable terms. Right, credit terms. You always want to seek credit terms. If I am a businessman and if somebody could give me a 90 days credit, I am happy about that. I am always looking for favorable credit terms, given the fact that as a council, you are always struggling with cash flow. And if you have a supplier who gives you a 90-day credit, why not take it? Many of the suppliers give you 30-day credit. So if someone is offering 90 days credit, my God, why not take it?
So roughly, I know you said it's a brief time that she was working alongside you guys, but roughly how long was it?
So I can't recall, but I believe it's about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, the most.
So she only had the ID for like 2 weeks?
Yes, yes, exactly.
And from that terrifying home invasion in Belmopan, we turn now to a robbery of a call center in Ladyville, in which the thieves made off with approximately $19,000 in cash. It happened at around 3:20 when the 32-year-old security guard was paying workers. Two men suddenly pulled up at the compound with skull masks over their faces. They pointed a handgun at the guard and forced him into a room at the back of the building. They then tied his hands with plastic straps and made off with a box containing all those thousands of dollars in cash. Sources tell 7 News that there is an initial suspicion that this could have been an inside job, since the robbers would have had to know when the payment in cash was being distributed. And we take a break now, but when we come back, we'll tell you what happened when the last 2 escapees went to court today. And counselors in a time of COVID. You'll hear what kids are facing. And after the break also, some interesting diplomatic appointments announced just a short while ago. We'll have a rundown. Don't go away.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast-drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry, and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Masks protect us from the spread of germs which can make us sick. Make sure your mask covers both your mouth and nose. Remember, don't touch your mask with your hands when it is on your face. Let's all wear our mask properly to stay safe and healthy. Belize Electricity Limited. We care about your safety.
My name is Kira Pinello. I was born in Belize City and I moved around a lot until I settled here in Belmopan. I'm technically a second-generation insurance agent. My grandmother was in the industry for over 40 years. I saw the love she had for what she did and the love she had for her customers. It wasn't just about providing a service, but it was about creating friendships. I am your neighbor. I am your friend. I am your RF&G agent.
Find your nearest RF&G agent on our website at rfginsurancepolice.com, where it pays to get it right.
Citizens of Belize, tune into the United Democratic Party's virtual launch of its 2021 municipal elections slates, putting people first. Our teams are capable, qualified, and extremely energized to deliver victory all across the country on March 3rd. Our virtual launch airs on Wednesday, February 3rd at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 7, Channel 5, Love TV, Wave TV, and live on our UDP Belize Facebook page. Your United Democratic Party, renewed and committed, putting people first.
Contraband is the illegal importation of goods such as alcohol, tobacco, foods, and parts. Apart from breaking the law, smugglers are also now endangering the health of all Belizeans. They risk bringing coronavirus into Belize with their contraband. To keep COVID-19 out of Belize, every everyone entering the country is screened and quarantined. But contraband smugglers are not using legal entry points and are bypassing all safety measures. And these same smugglers are moving among the population. They could be carrying the virus. By coming into the country illegally, they could cause outbreaks of COVID-19. Buying or smuggling contraband is putting yourself, your family, and the entire country at risk. Report smuggling. For SMART, call 0800-JUMPERS or 0800-BORDERS. For Digi, 0800-SAVE-BZE. This message is brought to you by the Belize Police Department and the Belize Bank.
El contrabando es importar ilegalmente productos como el alcohol, tabaco, comida y objetos. Aparte de romper la ley, los contrabandistas están poniendo ahora en riesgo la salud de los beliceños. Ellos arriesgan traer coronavirus a Belice por medio de sus contrabandos. Para mantener el COVID-19 fuera de Belice, todos los que entren al país son examinados y encuarentenados. Sin embargo, los contrabandistas no utilizan los puntos de entrada legal y se saltan todas las medidas de seguridad. Estos mismos traficantes se están moviendo entre la población. Ellos podrían tener el virus. Al entrar ilícitamente al país, esto puede provocar un brote de COVID-19. Comprar o traficar contrabando te pone a ti, a tu familia y a todo tu país en riesgo. Para números de SMART, llama al 0800-586-7377, 0800-267-3377 y para Digi 0800-728-3293 para reportar cualquier actividad de contrabando. Este mensaje es presentado por el Departamento de Policía de Belice y el Banco de Belice.
You have a neighbor throwing a party? Do you know of anyone holding a social event? Have you seen people not following protocols set in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19? If so, report them immediately. Use SMART or BTL and call 0800-PARTIES. That's 0800-727-8432. Our COVID-19 hotlines are available 24/7. These violators are putting your health and everyone you love at risk. Call our COVID-19 hotlines and report all violators. This message was brought to you by the Belize Police Department.
Looking for a paint with
We do these things without thinking, to keep our possessions safe. And yet, we think twice about doing this. Even though calling Crime Stoppers is an anonymous way to make our homes, schools, and communities safer, which helps to protect the people we care about. Call Crime Stoppers to anonymously report criminal activity in your area. By working together, we can make our Belize a safer place. This message is brought to you by Crime Stoppers Belize and this station.
Border jumping is illegal and puts our entire nation at risk. Our neighbors, Guatemala and Mexico, are experiencing rapidly increasing numbers of COVID-19 cases, and there are more deaths every day. Persons entering Belize illegally from these hotspot countries are not being tested for COVID-19. That's why it is important to report anyone entering Belize illegally by calling our hotlines. Smart users call 0800-JUMPERS or 0800-BORDERS. For Digi, call 0800-SAVE-BZE. Condoning or engaging in border jumping is putting yourself, your family, and the entire country at risk. Remember, anyone caught will be fined up to $5,000 and/or imprisoned for 2 years. Stop border jumping now. This message is brought to you by the Belize Police Department and the Belize Bank.
Saltar la frontera es ilegal y coloca a toda la nación en riesgo. Nuestros vecinos, Guatemala y México, han experimentado un rápido incremento de casos de contagio de COVID-19 y hay más muertes cada día. Personas entrando a Belice ilegalmente, viniendo de esos países con múltiples casos, no les están haciendo las pruebas de COVID-19. Es por eso que es importante reportar a cualquiera que entre ilegalmente a Belice llamando a nuestras líneas directas. Para Smart, marque 0800-586-7377, 0800-267-3377 y para Digi, marque 0800-728-3293. Tolerar o participar en entrar ilegalmente es ponerte a ti, a tu familia y a todo tu país en riesgo. Recuerda, cualquiera que sea arrestado deberá pagar una multa de hasta $5,000 y o prisión por 2 años. Detén el salto de fronteras hoy. Este mensaje es presentado por el Departamento de Policía de Belice y el Banco de Belice.
Tonight, there's breaking news of ambassadorial appointments finally named by Prime Minister John Briceño. And in perhaps historic moves, we can note that 40% of the appointee designates are women. But who are these official envoys posted to Belize's key diplomatic posts? Well, there's a cross-section of the community and a mix of new and experienced professionals. Many of them also new to diplomacy, but not public life. That includes expert climatologist Carlos Fuller, who will be named permanent representative designate to the United Nations, where his climate change expertise should prove instrumental. Former BEL CEO and current BEL board member Lin Young has been named ambassador designate to the United States of America and permanent representative to the Organization of American States. Current PUP Belize City Councillor Oscar Arnold has been named ambassador designate to Mexico. Another councillor on the move is Dr. Candy Spitz, who, as we reported last week, has been named ambassador designate to Taiwan. Former BTB chairperson Therese Rath has been named High Commissioner designate to the United Kingdom. Former CEO for Agriculture takes up a very senior diplomatic post, and it is also his first. Jose Alpuche is the ambassador designate to the Republic of Guatemala. After a long tenure in that capital, Ambassador Alexis Rosado is moving on to Belgium as the ambassador designate to the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States. And while those are the new faces, the returning faces are Ambassador Cherie Nesbitt, former lead ambassador to Taiwan, now the ambassador designate to the Republic of El Salvador. Former CEO in the ministry, Ambassador Annie Burns Martinez, will return as ambassador designate to the Republic of Cuba. Her replacement as CEO, Ambassador Amalia Mai, has also been named as the non-resident ambassador designate to SICA. Lawrence Sylvester returns to serve as Belize's non-resident ambassador to CARICOM. Last night we showed you the short victory lap that Police Commissioner Chester Williams took while announcing the recapture of Michael Fox and Erwin Lanza, the last of the 28 prisoners who had escaped from the Belize Central Prison last October. Both men were caught this weekend, neatly closing the chapter on the biggest prison break in Belize's history. And this morning they were taken before Senior Magistrate Aretta Ford. 34-year-old Fox, a Belize City resident who was convicted of murder, and 22-year-old Lanza, who was convicted of possession of a prohibited firearm, were both arraigned on a single charge of escaping from prison. Both men pleaded guilty with an explanation. Fox begged for leniency, saying that there are things that the prison has put him through, things which the general public does not know or understand. Lanza also accepted the facts as read out by the police prosecutor. He told the court, quote, Virgilio Murillo was putting people who had corona with those of us who never had it, end quote. Regardless, both inmates were sentenced to serve 2 additional years in prison for the escape conviction. This new sentence is to run consecutively to any current prison sentence they are serving, meaning it will be added to their time served. Fox was serving a life sentence, while Lanza was serving a 4-year sentence. 31-year-old Charles Nunes is recovering tonight after being shot to the right shoulder and left abdomen. It happened shortly before 10 yesterday morning when the Punta Gorda resident was cutting the grass at the town's Seventh-day Adventist primary school compound. That's when another man who had called him to the street side pulled out a 9mm pistol and shot him. They fought, and during the struggle, Nunes was shot a second time, but then the gun jammed, giving Nunes a chance to escape into the school compound. He was later transported to the PG hospital. Police have a known suspect. Belize's murder rate for 2020 was the lowest since 2013. But how does it compare to the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean, known for many years as the most violent zone on Earth? Rates across Central America have been trending down, and a nonprofit journalism and investigative organization named Inside Crime has published a full report on their homicide roundup. It ranks Belize as the 6th most deadly country in the region in their 2020 breakdown of nations, with the highest homicide rates. The highest is Jamaica, with 46.5 for every 100,000 citizens. Second is Venezuela, with 45.6 per 100,000 residents. Honduras is the third with 37.6. Trinidad and Tobago is fourth with 28.2 per 100,000 inhabitants. Mexico comes in at fifth with 27 for every 100,000 nationals. And then comes Belize with a homicide rate of 24.3 for every 100,000 citizens. Interestingly, according to this report, we are tied with Colombia, which has the same homicide rate last year. Viewers will remember that a little over 3 weeks ago, the government agency known as the Belize Crime Observatory also published their report on the country's homicide trends for last year. In that report, the BCO said, quote, for the first time since 2013, Belize has registered a murder rate below what is deemed to be Civil War levels at 24.33 per 100,000 inhabitants, end quote. According to Inside Crime, the number 8 most dangerous country in Latin America and the Caribbean after Belize and Colombia is El Salvador at 19.7 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Brazil comes in at number 9 with a homicide rate of 19.3 for every 100,000 inhabitants. And rounding out the top 10 is Puerto Rico, which had a rate of 16.5 for every 100,000 citizens. And like crime, the pandemic continues to rage on. While everyone is feeling the effects of the virus, children are one of the most vulnerable groups in terms of mental health. This week is Counseling Awareness, and school counselors in Belize are speaking out about the strains that children are faced with. Courtney Menzies has this story.
Counseling children can be complex and involved. For counselors, interactions have to be careful, compassionate, and empathetic. Counseling children during a pandemic makes that job even harder. During School Counseling Awareness Week, the Belize School Counselor Association is highlighting their work with students during this time. One major change is that counselors must now do their job from a distance.
if you were in the school setting, the teachers would refer children to you, maybe for tardiness, for academic issues, for behavior issues. And so it's different now. You have to go out and try and reach them because they don't have maybe credit to call you, or, you know, whatever they have to be using the devices. So, you know, different time you will be reaching them and things like that. I have shifted to, since I'm in a primary school and they send packages home, I have been sending home one sheets because, you know, they have other, like, their academic stuff, and so you want to consider that. And, you know, sending home one sheets, you know, of information and trying to make it dual, where the parent will benefit from that information because they're the ones who would have to be helping the child. And so, you know, that's the shift that I've been facing.
Having to take the counseling from out of the office to now a virtual concept, and realizing the realities of what our students are facing, having to not be able to access some of them virtually due to the expenses of them having to, you know, pay for internet, or maybe having to find that extra money for data. So we have been, or at least I could say for me, at my high school, doing calls, a lot of phone calls from my personal number, and as well when I go into the office I would engage in some communication with parents through the phone. For some of my girls, I do also post some required psychosocial supportive information.
In a time when children may need more care, attention, and affection, they cannot be afforded that by their school counselor. Both counselors explain the mental anguish that kids at both the primary and high school levels are currently faced with.
Children are a little representation of the extension of what's happening in their home. And so, you know, this is just saying that our parents are stressed, you know, and the population that I serve are persons from vulnerable communities, and, you know, there are lots of needs. And so as this happens, you know, the children naturally feel the stress because they see it on the parent. I have faced issues where I had students who their food issues in the home, their housing issues. I've had students where there one or two who had lost their home because of the parent not having the chance to get the funds to pay, because they used to go out and you know, what they would call hustling and stuff like that, you know, do little odds and ends. And so they weren't able to do so. And so, you know, I had to reach out to sometimes same teachers, you know, and principal, go to them, you know, because the community is already strained. So I would go to them, and then we would find ways of how to reach the need.
What I have learned is that my girls have most definitely understood the importance of being at school. They now understand how important it was, or the benefits that school gave them to be away for those few hours daily. So now I have seen an increase in a great need for emotional support. A lot of the girls are very frustrated, and they lack a lot of motivation, having to be at home all day, every day for almost 10 months now. There is that great level of worry. For some of my girls, I've asked them, have you gone out anywhere, maybe even to the store, or if you need anything urgent? No, miss, I'm really scared. I'm worried for my parents or my grandparents. In some situations where some of them have maybe got some kind of illness over the past time period, my girls have definitely stressed on a great level, you know, in comparison to how it would have been back in March last year or February last year.
And while the counselors do their best, they also need to take care of their own mental health.
Before I came into counseling, I was a social worker. And so, you know, that is a heavy role as well. And so, you know, you have to make sure that you establish your own wellness, your own network of support. I have found that in the School Counselors Association. I have found that in family.
I try my best to exercise. I read a lot. I definitely, when it's time to step away from the on-screen hours, I do so, especially on the weekends. Do my best to eat healthy, drink a lot of water, get massages when I can. So I do make it a very important part of my life to take care of myself.
Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
And while those kids are facing the mental effects of the pandemic, 2 young boys have been reported missing from the Liberty Children's Home in Ladyville. 12-year-old Barack Beaton and 13-year-old Sean Wagner was last seen on Thursday, January 28th, as they left the children's home. Beaton has a brown complexion and is about 4 feet tall. He has black hair and was last seen in a maroon polo shirt, khaki short pants and slippers. Wagner has a dark complexion with black hair and is also about 4 foot tall. He was wearing a black t-shirt, dark blue short jeans with slippers when he was last seen. If anyone has any information on the whereabouts of the 2 children, they are asked to contact their nearest police station. Ian Jones was appointed as the Director of Sports for the National Sports Council in March of 2017 under the Barrow administration. The 7 News has learned that he intends to sue the Briceño government for breach of contract and wrongful termination. His attorney, O.J. Elrington, has written a lawyer letter to the Attorney General, the Minister of Sports, and the Chairman of the National Sports Council. In it, Elrington says that according to Jones, his client, his superiors at the council informed him in a meeting on November 20th of 2020 that he was being terminated. The purported reason for this termination was his political opinions. The issue is that Jones signed a written contract with the government of Belize and the National Sports Council on July 29th of 2020, which says that he was supposed to serve as director from May 2020 to May 2022. Elrington declares that this is not Jones's first fixed-term contract and that Clause 7 provided that the contract may be terminated by the government with the mutual agreement of the parties. From Elrington's perspective, that means that Jones has to consent to the termination. The letter goes on to say, quote, "Your actions, therefore, amount to wrongful termination, a breach of contract, and the breach of the constitutional rights of my client. We are therefore demanding $186,115 as payment for salary and gratuity for the full remaining 2 years of his contract and damages for breach of his constitutional rights. We are hereby giving you 7 days to contact us and make arrangements for payment," end quote. We understand that Jones's attorneys have written multiple times to the National Sports Council, which has not responded to any of those letters. We are told that this dispute may end up in the Supreme Court if the matter isn't amicably resolved. Jones freely concedes that he is a UDP, but says Constitution should protect him from political victimization. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll tell you about the grievance of some frustrated firefighters. Plus, the Compol tells us why the ministry was touring police headquarters today. Don't go away.
Looking for a paint which offers durability, fast-drying action, easy application, long-lasting protection, and low odor? Then Coronado is the brand you need. Choose from eggshell, flat, or semi-gloss finishes for your home's interior or exterior. You can also protect your deck from the harsh outdoor elements with Coronado Maxum deck and siding stain. We also have primers, masonry, and metal coatings for other projects around your home. Benny's Paint Center has the paint you need in the color and finish you want. Enjoy your newly painted home with long-lasting, durable Coronado paints. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
My name is Kira Pinello. I was born in Belize City and I moved around a lot until I settled here in Belmopan. I'm technically a second-generation insurance agent. My grandmother was in the industry for over 40 years. I saw the love she had for what she did and the love she had for her customers. It wasn't just about providing a service, but it was about creating friendships. I am your neighbor. I am your friend. I am your RF&G agent.
Find your nearest RF&G agent on our website at rfginsurancepolice.com, where it pays to get it right.
Masks protect us from the spread of germs which can make us sick. Make sure your mask covers both your mouth and nose. Remember, don't touch your mask with your hands when it is on your face. Let's all wear our mask properly to stay safe and healthy. Belize Electricity Limited. We care about your safety.
If you have been directly exposed to the new coronavirus or have a history of travel in infected populated areas, it is recommended that you self-isolate. Identify a room to be used to self-isolate and limit contact with healthy persons. Keep away from older persons and persons who have medical conditions that affects their immune system. Monitor for any cold or flu-like symptom for up to 21 days and wash hands frequently with soap and water. If you become seriously ill, call your healthcare provider or 0800-664-2273 for guidance. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Money. What is it? It's a tool, traditionally made from a small piece of paper or metal and handed from person to person, traded for food, clothes, or anything else you desire. These days, we don't rely on physical money much. Money has become a stream of ones and zeros, endlessly cycling around the globe on a superhighway called the internet. But where did money come from? And where will it go next? Sometimes the best way to see what comes next is to look at the past, and the idea of money was invented way before the beginning of written history. It all started with the barter system. If you were a farmer in these days, leftover crops would be traded for bread from the baker. In ancient China, instead of carrying around hundreds of items around with them, people began to carry small tokens that represented the items that they wanted to trade. Ultimately, these tokens were replaced with abstract circles that could represent any item. According to early writings, Roman soldiers were paid in salt. It is believed that this is where the word salary comes from. The first coin we recognize today were issued in Turkey, and they were made of electrum, a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. Moving from coins, paper money was introduced around 700 AD and was developed by the Chinese shortly after they invented woodblock printing. They called it flying cash, as it had a tendency to be carried away by the wind. When Marco Polo visited China in the 1200s, he brought the idea of paper money back to Europe with him. Paper money wouldn't see widespread adoption in the West until mid-1600s, when banks started issuing notes that promised to pay bearers on demand a sum of gold. Merchants found it much simpler just to trade the notes with each other, rather than lugging around large amounts of unwieldy metals. During the American Civil War, both sides issued huge amounts of government-backed paper currency to fund the war, as they weren't enough gold. Union currency became known as greenbacks. The green ink on the reverse side is a color we still associate with money. Fast forward to 1946, the world's first charge card, named simply Charge It, was introduced. It was limited compared to modern credit cards, but proved such a useful concept that it led to the creation of Bank AmeriCard, now known as Visa, and MasterCard. With the introduction of ATM and cash machines in the 1980s, money had finally entered the digital age, and now everyone need to carry around a debit card along with their PIN number, and they could access their money anywhere that had one of these machines. Then came the rapid growth of adoption of the World Wide Web. Electronic money services had emerged, giving customers an alternative to traditional cash. Coupled with innovative technologies such as chips and pins, people around the world now enjoy making contactless payment at their favorite stores. It's now more clear than ever that our reliance on physical cash is on a steep decline. Convenience and security is what will pave the way forward for how business and customers transact in years to come. The phenomenon is coming to the Belize market. Digital wallet, a powerful option to physical wallets. Digital wallet can be very handy, as they can get rid of carrying cash everywhere. Digital wallet proves to be safe, easy, and immediate way for customers to pay online and further minimize the hassle related to cash transaction or waiting in line for long periods of time. The digital wallet is developed to increase customer safety and convenience significantly. So what does the future hold? The future is now, and it's powered by eCash.
you have a neighbor throwing a party? Do you know of anyone holding a social event? Have you seen people not following protocols set in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19? If so, report them immediately. Use SMART or BTL and call 0800 parties. That's 0800 727 8432. Our COVID-19 hotlines are available 24/7. These violators are putting your health and everyone you love at risk. Call our COVID-19 hotlines and report all violators. This message was brought to you by the Belize Police Department.
We don't usually hear much from firefighters, but tonight they are making the news because they've written to our media house to complain that they have been shoved around for years in their pursuit of promotions, which were promised and never delivered. In the unsigned, undated letter, the firefighters introduced themselves by making the point that they are turning to the press as a last resort in the hope of getting some answers. The writers say that back in 2017, a group of 17 firefighters took a leading promotional course, and all of them were successful in completing it. They were given a certificate like this one to signify that they had completed the course. It came as a part of their pass-out graduation ceremony. Then, in 2019, another group of almost 30 firefighters was selected to undergo the same leading firefighter course. The letter claims that all participants achieved exemplary passes, and they were given that certificate to prove their achievement. The letter says that at the beginning of each course, both groups of firefighters were told that after completion and some necessary administrative paperwork, they would be promoted in rank. But as of January 2021, none of the almost 47 firefighters have received any promotion that was promised to them. They declare that they would not be going public if they were given some kind of explanation as to why they haven't been promoted. The letter says that there are firefighters who have more than 15 years who have taken promotional courses more than once, and that this time they still cannot get promoted. And probably the biggest demonstration of low department morale is made when the letter says, quote, firefighters believe that they are always left at the bottom of the barrel simply because they are not a revenue source for the government, but instead they are looked at as a loss and are treated unfairly, end quote. The letter also asserts that every year their budget is cut. We have sought comment on this issue from Fire Chief Colin Gillett, Dr. Kenrick Williams, the CEO in the ministry responsible for the National Fire Service, and Minister Orlando Habet. This evening, Fire Chief Gillett told us, quote, we will be sending them a full explanation about their promotions, end quote. Shortly before the start of the news, Minister Habet responded to our request for comment. Via WhatsApp, Habet said, quote, my CEO and I have discussed the issue and we are charting a way forward. We also have to find the funding in these difficult times to pay whatever compensations are due, but it will take some time. We will be working on the promotions and including the necessary changes in the new budget. Immediately, we are trying to move firefighters in their hometown or district so that it boosts morale and comfort of being close to the family. Work conditions will come with some time, but will gradually be improved. Infrastructure is expensive and will need GOB investment, but we will look for assistance otherwise, end quote. The University of Belize has a new board of trustees as well as a new chairman, and it is Anthony Sylvester Jr. and Vice Chairman Lloyd Jones, both former unsuccessful PUP candidates. But they aren't the only new members. Also appointed are the Ministry of Health CEO Daisy Mendez, the Ministry of Education's Dr. Yvonne Palma, the Ministry of Agriculture CEO Servela Baiza, and private sector members Eccleston Irving and Crescencio Sosa Sr. The new board's first meeting was convened by UB President Clement Sankat on the 22nd of January. And UB isn't the only major organization with a new board of directors. The National Institute of Culture and History has also announced the appointees who will steer the country's artistic, culturalship for the next 2 years. They include 2 ministerial relatives, Michael Coy and Gavin Courtney, along with Irene Palacio Morgan, Carlo Habet, Marilyn Young, and Albert Vaughan. President Sapna Budrani continues on. That release also expresses Niche's confidence that this team of directors will be able to, quote, effectively lead Niche through this difficult and challenging financial period. Niche employees are currently on half pay and less. The institution's main source of revenue dried up when cruise tourism went away. Tonight, one more Belizean man has died from COVID-19, taking the total number to 303. 12 new cases have been identified from 199 tests, leading to a daily positivity rate of a very low 6.09%. There are currently 276 active cases with 25 new recoveries. Information Officer Claudette Dacres Norales has today's breakdown.
A total of 199 samples were tested. Out of this, 12 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. There are 266 individuals newly under investigation. There are 25 new recoveries to report. Today, we also report that 11 infected persons are hospitalized. Unfortunately, 3 of these individuals are being treated at the intensive care unit. Sadly, there is 1 new death to report. The cumulative report we are presenting is from March 2020, when we had our first case. The new total of active cases now stands at 276. These are those persons who have been confirmed and are within the time frame to transmit the virus. To date, 70,993 samples have been tested nationally. Out of this, 11,957 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. 266 individuals are under investigation. A total of 303 deaths have been reported. But we are pleased to report that there are 11,378 total recoveries.
The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is reporting that COVAX, a coalition led by the World Health Organization to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines, has notified countries in the Americas about the estimated dose allocation for the first phase of vaccine delivery. In a press release sent out on Sunday, PAHO reported that 36 of the countries and territories participating in COVAX received these letters, which outlines a delivery schedule starting in the second half of February through to the second quarter of this year. The vaccine which Belize and these other 35 countries will receive is Oxford AstraZeneca, which we note can be transported and stored at normal refrigerated temperatures. PAHO notes that this vaccine is still under review by WHO for emergency use approval, which is expected to occur in the next few days. It is estimated that around 35.3 million doses will be arriving in the Americas in this first stage. This morning, Home Affairs Minister Karim Musa took a tour of the Belmopan Police Headquarters to better acquaint himself with the officers and the civilian staff who are stationed there. Musa was escorted by Police Commissioner Chester Williams, who says that he invited the minister while they were having one of their regular meetings.
The minister and I meet regularly to discuss our different policing strategies, as well as to look at where we are crime-wise. As you would know, that shortly after the minister took over, he did a tour of Eastern Division, meeting with all the senior command. And so this morning he went over by my office for a specific reason in terms of looking at some issues of welfare. And after that was over, I invited the minister to take a tour around headquarters to familiarize himself with headquarters and the staff at headquarters. So he was open for it, and we did the tour, and he was very excited for what he saw.
What were the issues that of welfare that were discussed?
I'm not going to go into those details. It is nothing of major welfare matters. but it was something that I was doing for some officers, and I wanted the minister to be a part of what I was doing.
Tonight, you should brace for another hit on your wallet or purse at the fuel pump because the price of gas is going up again. As of midnight, the pump price of regular gasoline will increase by 51 cents from $9.27 to $9.78 per gallon. The prices for premium gasoline, kerosene, and diesel will remain unchanged. Keeping it on fuel, last Saturday night at around 7, the Puma gas station in Dangriga town was robbed by armed masked assailants who stole an unspecified amount of money. Yesterday, the head of the National Criminal Investigation Branch shared a few details on their investigation into this crime.
Saturday night, sometime around 6:45 p.m., the manager of Puma gas station in Dangriga town reported to police that whilst he was preparing the day's sale for deposit, 3 dark complexion male persons, one of whom was armed with a handgun, and all 3 were wearing masks and peak caps, entered the store where they demanded money, and as a result they made off with an undisclosed amount of money, both from the manager and from one of the gas attendants. No one was injured during the process. Police are seeking 3 suspects in relation to this investigation.
Reports say the robbers had a 9mm pistol with an extended clip and the long-arm rifle. They saw 1 cash register and searched the other 2, taking that is an unknown amount of cash. Our records show that this gas station has been robbed more than once in the past 6 years. And while we'll all be feeling the pain at the pump later, one young man is feeling nothing but pain after an alleged beat down from his uncle. Emmanuel Thompson is also in need of major surgery to repair his broken jaw, a jaw that's on the brink of infection. Emmanuel's mother says she can't pay for that surgery or any of the other medical bills that the unfortunate situation has racked up. And when she stopped by our studio, she also expressed that what's most unfortunate is that in his current state, her son is unable to focus on school.
He got his 2 jaws broken and some teeth lost from out of his mouth. He was in a fight, but it was like in a situation with a family dispute, and the person that got charged for the abused. But right now I'm seeking assistance because his bill is high, outstanding, and there's no way I can pay the bill fully, but he needs the assistance immediately because it's a week already.
Tell me more about the circumstance where the family member injured. What happened?
Well, he was accused wrongfully about something that he said he took. And he seen that he was under alcohol, and he didn't know how many times he hit him. And he hit him severely, caused him to damage his jawbone on both sides.
Is there any risk of infection now with the jaw?
Yes, it's a high risk. The dentist was told to me. His dentist is Dr. Samos. He told me that he's supposed to be doing the surgery, but without the finance, he cannot do the surgery. He can't do anything. He can't even think because he's just in pain. It's rough, especially raising children. It's rough, but I'm a mother, and I will never give up with my child, regardless of the downs, the ups. It doesn't matter what bad happens to my child or good. I am there for my child, and I will struggle to the end with my child, and I will push till he gets what I want and his education.
That was last week, and he still hasn't had the surgery. If you'd like to help with Emmanuel's surgery, you can reach out to his mom at 624-5179. And that's all we have for you for tonight. Thanks for watching. With your news, I'm Indra Craig. Remember that you can see a streaming video of this newscast at 7newsrelease.com, brought to you by Digi. for the best postpaid plans in the country. Remember now to wash your hands, wear a mask at all times in public, and to keep your social distance. The curfew starts at 10 tonight, so stay indoors. Join me back here tomorrow at 6, and until then, have a great day.